Have you ever found yourself in situations where your emotions got the better of you, only to wish later you had handled things differently? I want to share a couple of stories with you about handling tough times and those moments when our tempers seem to have a mind of their own. These stories come from real life experiences, and they are filled with moments that might just take you nod in recognition or laugh at the familiarity. So, whether you're sipping on your morning coffee or just taking a moment to unwind, let's dive into these stories and see what they reveal about managing our emotions and finding a bit of calm in the chaos. My friend Sarah, a single mom, managed her dual roles with a finesse that often left her friends in awe. By day, she navigated the fast-paced world of digital marketing, where her campaigns were as much about intuition and creativity as they were about data and deadlines. By night, she transformed into the supermom of a bustling household, with two spirited kids who filled her life with laughter and chaos in equal measure. Each morning began before the sun was up, her coffee brewing as she reviewed her schedule, aligning client calls with soccer practices and ballet rehearsals. Sarah had a knack for making each child feel seen and loved, despite her own clock ticking down to the next work deadline. Breakfasts were more than meals. They were moments of connection where plans for the day were shared alongside pancakes and fruit. Once the kids were off to school, Sarah's home office became the command center for her professional pursuits. She juggled conference calls, project briefs, and creative brainstorming sessions, all while keeping an eye on the clock to ensure she was available for school pickups and after-school activities. Wow. Her life was carefully choreographed dance of responsibilities, yet she managed it all with a smile, never letting the stress dim her warmth or diminish her dedication to her children. It was this seamless integration of her professional and personal worlds that truly set Sarah apart. Her ability to remain present, whether in a meeting or at a parent-teacher conference, demonstrated a level of organization and emotional intelligence that was nothing short of inspiring. On the critical morning of her long-awaited work conference, Sarah had left nothing to chance. Aware of the city's morning rush hour, she had planned her departure with precision, allowing extra time for the usual traffic and any minor unforeseen delays. Her preparation was meticulous, a testament to her organizational skills and forward-thinking approach. The children, too, were up and ready earlier than usual, their morning routine streamlined to support their mom's important day. With her bags packed and a final reassuring glance at her prepared home office that everything was good, Sarah set off, feeling confident and ready to tackle the day ahead. However, life, with its unpredictable nature, had other plans. Just as Sarah had merged onto the main artery leading to the airport, her progress was halted by an unexpected and severe traffic jam. An accident far more serious than the typical fender benders that occasionally frustrated her commute. It was there. Multiple vehicles were involved, necessitating the closure of several lines and bringing traffic to a near standstill. Emergency services swarmed the scene, the sirens scurrying through the morning as they attempt to navigate the chaos. Sarah's heart sank as she realized the magnitude of the delay. Despite her best laid plans and leaving home with time to spare, this situation was one that she could not have predicted. The clock on the dashboard just kept on going, mocking how she was not even having a chance to make it to the airport on time. As minutes turned into an hour, the reality of missing her flight and the crucial presentation that she had awaited for became just a certainty. The frustration and helplessness of being stuck, of watching her well-organized plans unravel before her eyes, was a stark contrast to the control and efficiency that she defined her daily life. By the time the traffic began to inch forward, allowing her a glimpse of the accident scene, a tangle of vehicles and the concert of efforts of the first responders, it was too late. Sarah's flight had departed without her, and the next available flight would not get her to her destination in time for her to take the stage as planned. She felt her blood boiling as she lashed out at the airline staff, demanding a solution they couldn't provide. Returning home, feeling a mix of defeat and frustration after the airport ordeal, Sarah was met with the quiet of her usually loud house. The day had unraveled far from her meticulously laid plans, leaving her with hours before the kids would return from school. A rare pocket of time she had hoped to use preparing for her conference, now pointless. As she waited, she looked at the part of the house that remained untouched by her usual tidiness, the garage. It was a project she had been meaning to tackle, a space cluttered with boxes yet to be sorted out, old toys that no longer had a place inside the house. With the day's events weighing heavily on her, she decided to channel her pent-up energy into beginning the long-postponed garage cleanup. By the time her children came home, the garage door was wide open. It was kind of like a chaotic reorganization thing. They greeted their mother with the stories from their day, eager to share and perhaps help. However, their arrival and offers didn't go as they were used to. Caught up in her own frustrations, Sarah responded to their enthusiasm with short, sharp words. Minor accidents like the knocking over of a paint can and the clatter of a box of old dishes were met not with laughter or a teaching moment like usual, but with a sharp intake of breath and stern look. That night, as she lay in bed, Sarah replayed the day's events. Her children's faces coming in front of her, the way their excitement had turned to confusion and then to quiet compliance, it was a sight that she couldn't shake off. The impact of her actions, the harsh words, and the missed opportunity to embrace their support was met with a contrast of not patience and understanding she's tried to embody. The day had started with a series of external frustrations, but it was her internal struggle to maintain composure that marked the real defeat. Now let me share my friend Geoff's story. His life was always set to a fast-paced rhythm. He'd always been the one you describe as intense. Working in a high-stress tech startup environment, his days were a blur of meetings, urgent emails, and never-ending project deadlines. Geoff's dedication was unquestionable, but so was his propensity to let stress get the better of him. It was common for him to react sharply to setbacks, his frustrations often boiling over in moments of pressure. His team knew him as a brilliant mind with a short fuse, and this made working with him both inspiring and challenging. This wasn't just confined to his personal life either. It seeped into the everyday. Geoff's mornings were a tightly scheduled routine designed to maximize productivity, even before stepping into the office. Every minute counted, and any deviation from the plan could set him off, being irritable, and that could go out throughout his day. One day, that began like any other, Geoff faced a test that could challenge his typical response to adversity. While reviewing the final details of a very important presentation, his hand swept a mug that he had just made for coffee, and all the documents and critical papers that were on his desk were instantly soaked. All those papers were ruined. In the past, such an incident would have unleashed a storm. Geoff would have raged against the carelessness of this act, his anger a whirlwind that left little room for reason. Yet this time, something shifted. Maybe it was the awareness from always being on edge, or an inner realization that the amount of anger had never undone the accidental spill. Instead of letting the frustration take over as usual, Geoff paused. In that moment, he discovered a surprising sense of calm, that cut right through his usual frustration. He took a deep breath, a technique he'd read about but never truly believed would do any good. To his astonishment, it worked. The moment of pause gave way to a realization. The documents were replaceable. The presentation could be salvaged. And this accident was nothing but a hiccup. With a calmness that even surprised him, Geoff began to blot the coffee from his papers, salvaging what he could and reprinting what he was lost. His team, shocked by this unusual reaction, found themselves hopeful about the side of their boss. Geoff's morning of misfortune turned into a lesson he'd not soon forget, demonstrating that even the most heated tempers could find relief in a moment of pause. Reflecting on these stories, the difference in outcomes is stark. The first scenario left Sarah and those around her stressed and unhappy, while the second led to a surprisingly good day despite its rocky start. What changed? In the second story, Geoff applied a basic yet effective mindfulness technique, taking a moment to pause and breathe. This simple act allowed him to respond to his situation rather than react on impulse. Mindfulness doesn't require grand gestures. Sometimes it's as simple as a deep breath, a step back to look at the situation with fresh eyes. It's about recognizing that while we can't control what happens to us, we can control how we respond. And there you have it, a tale of two responses, each navigating the ups and downs of our emotions with a little help from mindfulness. Remember, it's not about being perfect, but about being aware and making choices that lead to a calmer, happier life. So why not give it a try? Who knows? It might just turn your next spilled coffee into a moment of calm. And hey, don't forget to join us on Monday for part 1 of our topic, the power of visualization, manifesting your dreams. It's going to be an eye-opener. Until then, live mindfully and remember, every choice is a new chance to choose how we respond. See you next time. If you'd like to cultivate emotional regulation by practicing mindfulness for anger management, I am sharing additional information in my blog. Head over to www.getpositivelyinspired.com, where you'll find more good stuff and book recommendations. And don't forget to subscribe. There is so much more coming, and you won't want to miss any of it. See you on Monday. Live on purpose!